Let's talk about the business of the day as it relates to theater with your hosts, Darnell Radford and Mitch Weiss. This is The Business of Theater, a working title. Mitch, I know we're looking for a working title, but we cannot name the podcast The Business of Theater. Lift every voice and sing.
I don't know why not.
Because everyone would have to stand when they hear the title of the podcast.
Yeah, but at least we'd have Sheryl Ralph,
Sheryl
Lee
yes.
Ralph on board to work with us.
Yeah.
Right? That's worth something.
I don't think we can afford her, but I'm so glad her star is on the is shining so brightly right now. I'm not saying on the rise; it's always been on the rise, but I'm so glad her star is shining right now. And
yeah, you
gotta feel
good for It's not that she hasn't been appreciated before; she has, but you don't necessarily. I imagine as an actor, you don't necessarily feel it when you're only quote unquote in the theater community. Like the theater folk can fall in love with her.
Yeah.
But it's a lot different when you got the TV viewing audience,
when the rest of the world
who you are. Yeah.
Catches wind to what we already knew.
Yep.
Yes. Welcome to The Business of Theater, a working title. I'm Darnell Radford.
I'm Mitch Weiss.
Let's get down to business. So as we are having this conversation, a sporting event happened recently.
It's an understatement.
And as I live here in Philadelphia, it did not go as planned.
Yeah.
However, what a great season I've been told. There were many conversations in our theater from football fans about like what to expect from something we don't really know much about at all. But I thought it was kind of interesting how the entire city rallied in support of the Philadelphia Eagles. And it seemed like the East Coast kind of rallied.
You know what I noticed at the Super Bowl, watching the Super Bowl, was it felt, and this is maybe I've got this wrong, but unlike other years, it felt particularly good spirited. I felt like both teams respected each other.
Yeah.
And I don't know why I did not feel that at other times and in other games, other Super Bowls. And maybe it's just me, not remembering correctly. I don't want to say anything bad about other Super Bowls, but it was competitive, obviously, and it was exciting because it kept going back and forth. And maybe it was because it wasn't lopsided that people could respect both teams.
Well, there was a lot of PR spin. There were two brothers, the Kelsey brothers, who one on each team, Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles, and then the quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, and how just respectable they were, and Patrick's comments after the game, were just, that's class.
And also they were respectful. There's an element of, certainly if you lose this thing, there's a great disappointment and great excitement when you win it. But there wasn't this sense of, I'm going to shove it in your face. And that hasn't been my understanding of watching local football. And I really appreciate it. And bringing it back to theater, it's one of the great things about theater. and that it's a collaborative spirit, and there's not the competition that Bad Cinderella at the Imperial Theater is competing with Hamilton around the corner. It's they're both supporting each other. They both want each other to succeed. Um, and I feel that there aren't casts or managers or producers who are trying to knock somebody else down. This is how do we be the best we can be, and hopefully that will lead to some financial success.
Mhm.
Super Bowl is going to be financially successful no matter what, as is Hamilton, as is Wicked, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and Phantom of the Opera. There are things that are just become their own brand, and can't lose anymore,
Yeah.
right? So, but I enjoyed that aspect. I just felt like a part of a community, and I am not a football watcher. So that um, was um, a great feeling that came from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I always say here in Philadelphia that I am a Philadelphia fan. Whenever the best of Philadelphia is shining through, then I'm there to support that effort. I know in the past, like if you were looking at the glass as damn near empty, you might call it a fair weather friend, and I don't feel that.
Hmm.
I will say that working in the arts as long as I have, I've always had an opportunity to go to a baseball game or a football game. I don't always have an opportunity to go to a hockey game, and I'm not sure if I'm even interested if I had the option. But I do think about how sporting events, or at least the organizations, they do make some kind of effort to appear to be inclusive, to kind of pull in those who may not be diehard fans. And it always makes me think about, like, you know, are we doing enough of that in the arts? Are we doing enough of that to, like, convince or, entice people who are not
Mm,
diehard art lovers to come in and experience what we have to offer?
well,
Always makes
I'm
me
going
think.
to take issue with a little bit of that.
It's
The
a question.
I
It's
know.
not a
I'm
not a
sorry.
statement.
Well, the implication is we're not,
Mhm,
and I think you're correct in general. In quote unquote the beginning of theater, it was an elitist intellectual activity, and they wanted it to be thought of that way because they also didn't plan on shows running very long, and they had a limited number of seats. We are exploring these days streaming theater, live theater. We're
mhm,
exploring certainly live plays become movies and vice versa. So we're looking for larger audiences. When Disney joined the Broadway arena, they brought a whole new audience. And all of a sudden, there were people breastfeeding in the audience of Beauty and the Beast when there used to be a rule no one under the age of 4 admitted to any theater. It changed. Then there was also um, populist topics for the shows. Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Little Mermaid are a lot different than Phantom of the Opera and what that's going to appeal to. So the nice part about what's happened to Broadway is it's expanded. We now have a lot more topics. I think what's great about the Super Bowl is it is one of the most amazing events that we can all partake in. So theater, when it becomes an event, it has a limited number of seats. We do not have a stadium that can hold that many people. We don't go on TV and say we want 100 million people to watch us do one show. So we that's where I'm having a little bit of an issue with the question because I think we have different limitations, but that we would love to invite everybody in.
Yeah. I get that limitation, but I would love to turn people away, uh, rather than have empty seats.
But the problem is we turn people away at Hamilton and Wicked. We don't turn them away at certain plays that perhaps aren't as popular or exciting, or perhaps
Well, we say at capacity.
okay.
Because that way we're not saying whether it's better or whatever. If there's only one theater in your neighborhood and everyone is considering going to that theater, everyone in the neighborhood can't attend the theater at the same time. So you might have to turn some people away. However, that isn't the case in our community at the moment. It feels like we're still very much valuing the contributions of the arts, but we're still having a hard time
Yeah.
reaching
Well,
the
here come
community.
the same old questions, the same old issues. It's hard to tell. I mean, yes, I know there was a $10,000 ticket at the Super Bowl. I get thousands of dollars, um, but Broadway has tickets that also go for thousands of dollars when it's a sellout crowd.
Hmm.
And so the question is, who are these people that can afford it? So that means that it's not going to feel welcoming. I know just last night I wanted to just go see any play. I live near the Broadway theaters. I just feel like going. I'm sorry, not last night would have been Super Bowl. I'm talking about this past weekend. I looked at the prices and I went, there isn't a single show that I haven't seen yet that is worth this price to me.
Mm.
So the shows that I would have paid that amount of money, I've already seen. So instead, I stayed home. That's an issue, right?
Yeah.
And, yes, every show can have $20 tickets if you sit in the last row or in the front row and get spit on by the actors. Some people like that. Um, but I'm also not going to sit in the last row anymore. You get to a certain age, and I need to see and hear. So now is my only choice to spend $200 a ticket and up, or are they welcoming me? And that's a question. That's one of the big ones. Can I tell you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Um, this is why when production, closes on Broadway and it tours, that gives us more of an opportunity to experience it. If we couldn't get in there for various reasons, the price or it was at capacity. Now we have another opportunity, and I think that is kind of the um, a plus for the arts. I mean, there has. I'm sure there's someone on the planet who hasn't seen the Nutcracker, but by now, really, not even a version of the Nutcracker, a snippet, you
but
know.
but the live aspect is what says you go back and you feel it differently the next time,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that the excuse?
What do they say? It hits different.
It hits different, and the
It
crowd you're
hits different.
with lets you feel it different. And the actors or the performers at that particular uh, performance may be different than the ones you saw, and they may bring something different to it.
Hmm.
Or, God forbid, there's a big mess up, and you get to say, "Oh, I was there when such and such happened."
Ooh,
Yeah,
tell me. more, tell me more.
Back to Greece and John Travolta.
Yes, because we're still in this,
Super Bowl.
the Super Bowl. John Travolta showed up in a T-Mobile commercial with Donald Faison and Zach Braff, and I'm pretty sure this was a joke. But
I hope.
no, no, not the commercial.
Oh,
The
I'm
commercial
sorry.
is a parody, but Variety posted an article saying that they might take their T-Mobile Super Bowl show on the road. And I was just like, well, I mean, John Travolta looked good. He had shaved head, he
Hmm.
had like a shadow going. He looked good, but it did seem like he was struggling at the end. And they recorded that.
See, and for
So,
me as a manager, I hate to say it, but every time I see something like that, all I'm doing is guessing how much money he made.
yeah. I
Right?
mean, it is a great pairing because, Donald Faison and
Zach.
Zach Braff, of Scrubs fame,
Hmm.
have been, there were musical
Right.
episodes of
Right.
Scrubs, and they're killing it in these commercials. So, it is kind of fun. I wonder who they're going to pull in next,
Yeah, it's
to be
true.
a part of their, this
Well, here
this
we go. So,
special
what
guest.
if we were to do the Glass Menagerie on Broadway, starring John Travolta, Zach Braff, uh, but just the two of them? We need a female. Who do we bring in? Um, she's dead. We can't use her. Um, I say that's the problem with on commercial theater. You were talking about how do we fill every seat, and we really want it to be an experience as opposed to we're coming to see celebrities. And the Super Bowl is a celebrity event. There's no question. This is the ultimate celebrity version of football.
Hmm.
Just just like at the tennis arenas. If you're going to go see the Williams sisters, you're half the people or a large number of people going know more about the Williams sisters than they do about tennis. So,
Yes.
right, that's what the box office is drawing on. So now we're back to that. And by the way, there was one point I was part of a tour that was going to end up in Moscow. And the Moscow, and this was a regular theatrical, I'm not going to name it because I can get in trouble, theatrical production. They were going, but what Moscow wanted to do, instead of running it for 8 weeks, they wanted to run it for two performances only in a 12,000 seat stadium with a proscenium stage. Can you imagine what it's like sitting in the last rows there? So it never happened.
Yeah.
It's not the way those shows work, right? You can just imagine, the dots up on that stage. But that was the idea. That was their idea of making money, the non capitalist system that they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I don't know. Your question about how do we, I guess what we're doing, we bring kids in at an early age and let them get excited about theater. The more people who see it um, before they become immune to theater, if we can get them in young enough and they see something that excites them, they will want to come back and see other theater. The other part, which is what I love to do, is if you get to work on theater, you will come back to see the work that other people have done in theater because you can
I
appreciate what it is.
I think it's apparel.
Explain.
I think it's apparel. The way they're able to get, non-sports fans involved is through apparel. If you just want to show your support, wear green tomorrow to support the Eagles. It's like, okay, I'll wear green. And
Hmm.
then you realize you just have basic green, and you're like, "Oh, I got to get some better green now because I'm going to do it, but I just have a green T-shirt. Is this even the right green? Is this the green that they're using right now? Then you actually go buy an Eagles shirt, and then you realize there's like millions of styles, and now you're like, well, I have to get more than one.
You may be Mr. Consumer.
Maybe you need a
You're
hat.
you're talking to
I'm
the.
sa-
Uh,
I'm saying I'm saying it is a way for you to show your support without
so how do you
actually.
do that with theater? We sell merchandise. What are you talking about? Come to the theater. Everyone must wear green. We're seeing Wicked.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, well, okay, because I am unique bird in the theater community.
Yes, you
So
are.
when I go to see a show, say at the Academy of Music, I will always get a pin. I started getting magnets because my partner has a ton of magnets, and they're just sort of. It's like if you there's a takeaway, and this is the other thing that I thought I was thinking about during the pandemic when we were trying to keep everybody safe and sort of justifying saving some money at the same time, where we started QR coding the program.
Hmm.
It's like the program is a keepsake,
That's right.
and not everybody wants the keepsake, but a lot of people want the keepsake. But then if you don't print the program on good paper, now you're questioning why you need to keep this. Even
Well,
though it's really because of the information inside. But really, it's like you want something to be like, this is my notable piece.
what's interesting is I have a collection of about 400 magnets, which
Hmm.
are sitting in a box in
Well, I know
storage.
you keep telling me. Yeah.
I just don't know who to give them to. I guess I could sell them at the Broadway flea market, gives it to charity. Um, but they gave me great joy through most of my life, and they were out and they were displayed.
Let's
But
build a house. Magnets.
I guess you better not wear any belt buckles while you're walking through the
No.
house.
You're like I'm so drawn to these walls for some reason. I don't every the magnetic pull. There's such a there's such an energy in this room. Oh, that's the magnets. That
Come
would
on,
be
we
it.
need a song. It's song time. Is there a magnet song? There isn't a
Uh,
magnet song.
Magnets? I don't know.
No.
No, there's like a stuck on you kind of
Ah,
thing.
there you go. That's a good one. But it's not
I
theater.
got you under my skin.
We
Actually, so I would sing that if I was talking about the HBO series The Last of Us, because it's about a parasite that's under your skin.
okay. Going back to theater, let's talk about Burt Bacharach.
Oh, Burt Bacharach, 94
Yeah,
years
good
old,
for
right?
him. Um, I, without sharing, I have personal stories about him, but which endeared me even more to the to than his music. But theater, Promises, Promises, his only real effort. And by the way, that was some year.
Mm,
Promises, Promises was followed by Raindrops Keep Falling on Your Head, followed by Close to You. Not
mm,
bad, right?
yeah.
So Promises, Promises starred Jerry Orbach, who won a Tony for playing it. It's based on the movie Apartment, which is not interesting at all and is very sexist and probably would not fly these days. Not probably, it would not fly these days. And out of the show came the song I'll Never Fall in Love Again, which was another big hit. Um, and Promises, Promises. Dionne Warwick did both as singles, the theme song. Donna
Mm,
McKechnie of Chorus Line fame had a big, it's actually a trio, but she had center stage dancing in Promises, Promises. Michael Bennett did choreography. Not This is not bad, and yet it's one of those shows that nobody probably can do ever again. And still, it's not PC. Um,
Well, you mentioned "Close to You," which Burt Bacharach wrote with Hal David,
Hmm.
um, and it was a version of it was recorded by the Carpenters.
Yes. Well, they did the original single. They
Yes.
and just so we clear this up, I was sitting in the second row at Westbury Music Fair at a Burt Bacharach concert. Him and a small orchestra. The opening act was the Carpenters, and it was the first night they had ever performed on a stage. And they came out and introduced the fact that they were given one song by Burt Bacharach to sing, and they were going to play it for us for the first time anywhere in the world that night, and it was Close to You.
And they took home the Grammy for that,
Did it?
didn't they?
I don't
Grammy
know.
Award for Best Pop Performance by a
That
Duo
particular
or
song or just them in general?
that particular
Oh,
song.
okay. Well, anyway.
Anyway, so what I was going to say is that "Close to You" was a song that played in the movie The Broken
Yes.
Hearts Club,
Yes.
which also featured Billy Porter
Yes.
and
And
Zach Braff.
yay, Zach. And and
Justin Theroux, Timothy
a
Oliphant.
couple of other songs that they keep leaving out of his bios. Neither one of us, Gladys Knight and the Pips. That's a Burt Bacharach song. And One Less Bell
Oh,
to
wow.
Answer,
Mm.
a Burt Bacharach song. Hal David. I mean, he was all over the place. They had so many people doing it. His stuff, um, just very influential, and very few number one songs. Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head was number one. I know that. Close to You, I think, got to number one. But most of the Dionne Warwick songs just made it into the top 10. They never made it up to the top. But we all know them. Every bar mitzvah, every wedding.
Oh, so sorry. One more about the Broken Hearts
Go
Club
ahead.
and Jennifer Coolidge.
Ah, I'd
Oh,
like.
what a great
I
cast!
would love to
What a
see.
great
I'd
cast!
love to see Coolidge on a stage
Yeah,
in some show.
that was one of my. That is one of my favorite
It
movies.
is okay.
Camp. It's camp.
Speaking of
Cute.
which,
Yes.
talk about Grease and all these other campy shows.
So, well, there was another thing I wanted to mention. I wanted to talk about actors' equity, making the open membership program permanent.
Yeah. Uh,
And
does it make any sense to you? Do you understand?
well,
It doesn't make sense to me.
it's like, well, I what is the thought process? Union members are dropping like flies, so now we can let anybody in.
No, but they're not dropping like flies. I mean, if that were the reason, you go fine. They need more dues. But if there's no work, you don't get dues anyway.
Yeah, it's
So I'm
like
not really quite sure.
so. What happens when there's an abundance of artists and then they struggle to find work again?
Well, they've always struggled. The great statistic is union actors, 97.2%, I think. I'm not going to hold to that number. It's up there. Of union actors are unemployed in the arts at any one time.
That's everywhere or just New
It's
York?
across the country.
Mm,
Now, that's not counting SAG or AFTRA. This is equity.
mm.
So, and I believe, and here we go again with trying to remember numbers, I believe the number is 38,000 equity members. Well, add to that probably another 50,000 non equity actors in New York. And there are a whopping 41 Broadway theaters, which are almost never all full. So you do the math. What are the chances? And yet we want them all. I mean, they're talented people, and every show needs a different kind of actor in a different kind of role with different skills. So it's not that they're not wanted, but I don't know what the only thing it does is complicate auditions. Equity auditions, the equity actors get to go first. Then, if the casting directors have time, they can see non equity actors if they decide. Well, if everyone can join equity, now we're seeing
No,
people with no experience in the same auditions with people with lots of experience. I'm not sure what good that does anybody.
yeah. I mm, I don't. I mean, I don't have an opinion either way. I just hope. I just want, the particulars to be understandable and maybe a little bit more simplified. There's
Mm-hmm.
a there's a change. There's a changing of the wind, and this feels like a stuffy old institution that isn't quite moving with the times.
No, and again, this is a personal response that the actors that I have spoken with in the past few months, and I'm talking about dozens of people, not one of them seems to have any faith in their union at this point. Now we're coming out of a pandemic, lots of problems. Got it. Nobody was working. All how do you come out of the pandemic? What are the rules during the pandemic? Everyone can have arguments, but it's kind of we don't have faith in our union that they're there for us. Um, Again, I'm not. I didn't take a poll, so I don't want to say that for everybody, but I don't know any actor that is speaking on behalf of their leadership at the moment. It's a shame. And yet, of course, Broadway has what, 18, 19 unions? So the others don't seem to have the same negative feeling about their unions.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's a
And
good
you
point.
live in a very I mean, you have unions in Philly, but you have a lot of non union people who work,
Hmm.
right? Um,
We also have a lot of people who, you know are eligible
yeah,
and prefer not to join.
yeah. It's an
Yeah.
interesting dilemma, and it is a dilemma. I'm a pro union kind of guy. Um, I think salaries would drop through the basement without them, and there would be no health care, although I believe the equity healthcare system is pretty rotten. But for those who work, it's okay. It's pretty good. But you have to be a working actor to get health care out of your union. And certainly there's pension, and that's not a bad thing at all. And you're not going to get any of that if you're not union. So
Hmm.
that's the primary reason in my head for joining a union is you're going to have a minimum pay scale and you're going to get a pension and you're going to at least get some contributions towards health care. Um, it's not a bad reason,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but we'll see where it takes them. Maybe I'm just not understanding it. And the council members on the equity board, maybe they have statistics. They're just not communicating it well to let the universe know what they're doing and why.
Perhaps,
Perhaps.
perhaps letting more people, providing a path for more people to join might,
Here's a problem,
allow
though.
for more voices.
Yeah, but here's the problem. When I was working at regional theaters, there were a lot of equity candidate members, people who are, getting points towards equity membership.
Hmm.
Um, if you become equity because you can, and you don't have to do this candidate program, don't you have to get paid more if you work at that regional theater? Aren't there minimums now? And therefore, do you lose your job because these regionals want cheap labor as the ensemble to the shows that they have their full equity members, actors working? I don't know the answer to that, but that's where my question would come. Does it prevent now someone who joins equity, are they being prevented from auditioning for non equity shows in Indiana? Right? Which would give them employment, but it's not union employment. And that's usually been the case in the past. So how is equity balancing that?
Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know. And speaking of Philadelphia Inquirer, get how I did that transition?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, hmm, you and your articles. I read
Yeah.
just today in England, one director, and I didn't write down names, I should have, because I need to back this up. There was a director who got so angry at a critic, he smeared doo doo on his face in the
Oh my god.
audience. And of course, the director was let go and fired and all that other stuff. But it made the papers. I don't know why I'm worried about cursing on our podcast. You know, the man was pissed and he put shit on his face. There we go. We did it. And maybe I have the details wrong because I just read this today and I have to go back and find the article and then we'll be able to back it up.
No,
And of course, we
definitely.
always have the problem of the New York Times, although they are trying to diversify, but it doesn't solve the problem that they have, uh, that their critics are more interested, it seems, in their own writing style and power than in truly supporting the artists that they review.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean a bad show should get a good review. But when they start talking about the size of their nose or their earlobes or how fat they are, or it's like now we're, this is not about being PC, this is just rude. Um, anyway, we move on, right?
Yes.
Yes, we do. So, new shows that are opening. There's a some new shows that actually are coming in without a star and without buzz. And I'm really wondering, it's going to be interesting whether or not, as we get into the Tony season, which will be later in the spring, whether they have a chance. You know, they look cute. You know, their branding, their logos, even some of their social media. It looks
Mm.
like they're trying to be really cute, but we all know you sit down in a theater for 2 hours and you can be cute. It can fall flat and you just go, why did I see this? And you just spent $200. So the question is, who's going to buy that ticket until we know whether it's a good show or not?
Hmm.
You know, without a buzz. You know, it's not like they tried it out in Chicago first or,
I always think that that's always the interesting thing. Everybody doesn't scour, uh, you know, everybody doesn't do that searching for reviews and commentary. Sometimes their way in is just a friend wanted to go, so now they're gonna go.
right. Well, word of mouth. That's exactly, but
Word of mouth, and we say it all the time,
mhm,
and it's like we're not even every curtain speech doesn't say check out our review and blah blah blah. It's like word of mouth is our best form of advertising. Just it's like, but then as soon as we get reviews, we're like plaster that quote everywhere.
yeah.
It's 4 words can sell our show. Like, really, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if
and the
it's
truth is, it's about all of it put together,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And when you truly have a great show, or at least a great reaction to a show, you don't even have to do half the work because social media will do it for you.
Well, sometimes, if you talk to a friend and you ask a friend, like, what did they think of something, they'll be like, I liked it. Or it was good. It was really good. It really made
Hmm.
me think, or something like that. But then you see the article, you see the review, and the review is using all these flowery words that your friends never use. So it's like, um, so who is motivated by these quotes that you're pulling? It always makes me think. I'm always think. Well, I mean, of course, we pull quotes for our shows as well. but I'm
I
always
think I
thinking
think
about
I
that.
think it's a combination, and there are different people who respond to different things, which is why there's both Twitter and Facebook, and why
Mhm.
there's Instagram, right, and Pinterest, and all that stuff. There are different strokes for different folks, and the problem is in the quote unquote old days before social media, we had less to worry about. We knew we had to take a quote, take an ad in the New York Times. If we could do a TV commercial, great. And then you had to get on talk shows. That's it. You had no other options.
Yeah.
And everybody who thought they wanted to see a show would check those places out. Now, where do you go? And you can get false
Honestly,
advertising lots of places.
I think every musical needs a Tiny Desk concert.
Okay, I buy that.
NPR,
Yeah,
NPR has done a great job with the musicals and their Tiny Desk concerts. That's how we got to get a sense of what it would be like
yeah,
to experience company, and it's what we learned how we learned about. I mean, not how we learned about, but like how we got to dive a little deeper into a strange loop and a little shop of horrors. Just I'm just thinking about the recent ones that came out. And Six, I
yeah.
think Six had a Tiny Desk
Yes,
concert.
I think they did too.
Yes.
Yeah, and again, as someone, because I go see the shows, I did not, and I don't listen to NPR because I don't have a car.
Mhm.
That's just me. I'm aware of these little concerts. I'm aware of their effect, but I'm not affected by them.
Well, you don't need a car. You can
Yet
find
I
a YouTube
do.
channel.
I'm not. Yeah, but I'm not. I walk everywhere. It's New York City. I don't
Well,
listen.
I mean to experience their Tiny Desk
No, I
concert.
understand
You
that,
just need a
but I
YouTube
don't.
channel.
I'm not somebody who often listens. uh,
Yeah.
just because I'm in the theater experiencing. That's the way I look at it.
Mhm.
Um, or doing this podcast with you, Darnell, making room for what I'm supposed to listen to somebody else's concert. You
Yeah.
know. Um, and by the way, which still annoyed me, I did a friend a favor for her special birthday. She and her husband wanted to see Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, and he has a residency there once a month. I think it's now 8 years. I don't know how many years. It's been forever. He does a once a month concert there, and it sells out every time. So she wanted to go see him. Could I help her get tickets? It wasn't even on sale. Well, I do know two people who work at the box office at Madison Square Garden as friends. So I contacted them and said, "Could you help?" And they said I wouldn't be that they would not be able to physically get her the tickets, but sure, they would be able to get her great seats in these price ranges. So she was excited. I'm happy that I could do this for her. The cheapest seat they could get her that was going to excite her was $300. The man is 220 years old. He plays the same songs that he's been playing for 4,000 years that have all been recorded perfectly. And she is not a rich person, and she's coming in from out of town just to see the concert. I'm sorry, I don't have that disposable income. And I feel bad that she has to do that. And yet, I know it's supply and demand. Obviously, it sells out. People are willing to spend the money,
Yeah.
right? Beyonce can charge $2,000 a ticket. Easy. Is
Taylor
it
Swift.
right, though, that they are charging that?
Well, they're not. I mean, yeah. I mean, there is an argument there about whether they are actually charging that, because there's so many people have to get paid from that ticket. You know,
Yeah,
so
I get that.
a
That's
lot
not
of
the
these,
point.
there's a lot of fees, and there's a lot of jacked up pricing,
Right,
and there's dynamic pricing.
right.
It's like there's demand, so the price goes higher, and so on. It's like, yeah, why not just figure out a price and be happy with the sellout? You know,
Well, and
I don't
and but
know.
everything you're mentioning, you're absolutely right. But we have decided that our capitalistic system, only in the case of concerts and shows, should not be regulated.
Yeah,
And this is the part I don't get. We're regulating smoke shops. We're regulating license plates. We're regulating these other things, and we're starting to hopefully regulate insulin sales for, you know, poor people who are dying of diabetes. Uh,
yeah.
we need to say enough is enough. You're rich enough, and the people around you. I think I don't know if I mentioned it on the podcast. I had lunch with a promoter in Honolulu who was doing a New Year's Eve concert, and he was telling me stories of how he double and triple dipped on Cher, Bette Midler, and Whitney Houston, and that he made more money than they did at each of their concerts. And he was telling me how he did it. And I had to stop him and say, you really think it's okay to rip off your artists? And his
Mm.
only answer was, oh, okay, don't worry about it. Let's talk about something else. And that was it. So
Hmm.
we do have an issue. And I doubt the venue that he was working for and, for the concerts knew what he was doing and how he was making his extra money. So, we're going to the negatives once again. But here we are with the artists who are trying to create new theater and have no money to even do readings or showcases. And there's no pool of money from these people to help them. Right? It's not even about
Well, well, you
taxation.
know what? Well, you know what Harry Styles says.
What does Harry
Stuff
Styles
like
say?
this just doesn't happen to people like him.
Thank you so much, Darnell. Uh-huh.
He said it. So I didn't realize that you know, he had 15 sold out nights at Madison Square
Mm-hmm.
Garden.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just crazy
Yeah.
because I do remember being in New York at that time and like, where are all these little tweens going? And then, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's where they're going. I see.
Yeah. Well, let's see if they come back for the Madonna tour.
Yeah,
Anyway, it is time.
I
Yes.
know, but there's a like a 5 minute chunk I have to edit out of this.
Really?
So we're yammering.
Oh, okay.
I'm joking. I'm joking. Uh, at some point, we should talk about why the Edinburgh Fringe is so big and how it
Yeah,
got there.
a fascinating article that you sent me about the history of how it got started.
Hmm.
The only point I'd like to bring up very quickly is it
Hmm.
started before either of us was even a thought in our parents' minds, and it took that long for it to get to where it got to. So, for those
Yeah,
of us who want to start new ideas, we're never going to see them. Is that the message?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, every now and then, like something rises from there, and you're like, oh, I was there when that was on stage, and I didn't see it, or were you? Or you just heard about it.
Yeah.
I heard about it. I don't know.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
would have loved to see Fleabag, when it was at the Fringe,
Well, think
when it was at
about
the
it.
Edinburgh
There's
Fringe.
not a long list of shows that have quote unquote succeeded coming out of Edinburgh, unless you and it's fair to say every show that got to perform there on some level had success.
Hmm.
That they were there and that they expressed themselves and they were able to perform. So I don't want to take that away from it. It's just they
Oh
didn't
yeah,
have a commercial success following there.
yeah.
Which is again why I have mixed
Oh, and
feelings about
six
festivals. Yes,
six
six.
was there.
Six
Yeah,
and Fleabag are the two big ones.
yeah.
And that's
Hmm.
recent. So think about all those shows from all that time before.
Oh yeah, when you click through, it's like Cambridge Circus.
Hmm. Yeah.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are
Oh,
dead.
what? Oh, that must have been an original new show, right? They wrote that while the Edinburgh Festival was there.
1960,
Yeah, there
1966.
you go.
Yeah. Stomp.
Yeah, it
Stomp
did
came
not
out of
start
the
there. Stomp did not start there.
Jerry
And Stomp
Springer,
just
the
closed,
opera.
by the way, just closed in New York.
Yeah, yeah. Saw that.
The only reason I'm happy because Stomp, I mean, God bless him. It's wonderful notion and wonderful production, and it employed a lot of people as well as entertained people. But it used up what I think is one of the best off Broadway theaters New York has ever had, the Orpheum. And I'm very lucky to say that I did the second to last show in the Orpheum before Stomp took it over.
Mm.
Right, so I got to see the theater and enjoy it, and be impressed by it, and then it just went away. It just belonged to Stomp. So now maybe we'll get to use it again somehow.
Yeah.
Have to see what they do with it.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, and that'll be a good place to end.
Yay.
Uh so that was the business
Of
of
theater.
theater, a working title. I'm Darnell Radford,
I'm Mitch Weiss.
and we'll see you at the theater.
Yay, yay, yay.
Thank you for listening. Tune in next time for another episode of The Business of Theater, a working title, with Darnell Radford and Mitch Weiss. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Share the podcast with a friend, colleague, or give us some social media love. This podcast is an Emory production. Visit us online at em3ry.com/TBOT. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at em3ryotm.